Cool. We are online. Let me view the event.
There we go.
We have 2 subscribers, so hopefully they're watching.
Me and Rob.
And Rob. Okay. I'll send one to Mark right now.
Get Mark out of here. Get Mark some running backs.
Eckler has a...
Ooh, hammies are tricky.
Yeah, that's what Mark was like, shit, his hamstring.
Yeah, if it was anything but a hamstring, it might be a little less worrisome, but those things are pretty...
Well, we'll see. Hopefully he's all right. I just want everyone to be healthy.
That's not going to happen, bro.
Right?
That doesn't exist in this world.
That does not.
Are we good to go?
Almost. I'm just doing sending to a couple people at least. All right. We are good to go, and we are live. Welcome to the end around with AJ and Ed.
What's going on?
This is our inaugural episode. So what we're going to do today, this is our post-fantasy. This is our post-fantasy recap. We'll kind of dive into what happened with, we won't go into every single league we're in, but we'll go over
a couple players that we like. Yeah. Talk about the importance of bench players, and then some players that we agree on, and some players that we're kind of differed on.
Yeah, that we ended up with on our teams. So I will make sure to have that open, and we'll go one by one. And then what we're going to do is dive into our normal structure, which is our preview episode, which is today before the week of the games.
Yeah,
and we'll dive right in game by game, and we'll do 1 or 2 players for each team,
and then we'll talk about our fantasy team of the week.
Yes, fantasy teams of the week going into this week. We'll build our own fantasy team, and then next week we will do our weekly recap episode. See who won. We'll think of something to make it juicy, spicy. Maybe AJ has to get a tattoo at the end of the year.
Maybe you got to get a tattoo on your nose. How about that?
Maybe. You might have to get my face on your ass cheeks.
That's disgusting. That's rude.
All right. So, okay.
Draft season. Fantasy draft season is probably my favorite part of the entire year. It's like Christmas for sports nerds.
Yes, it is.
I don't think any other fantasy sport really compares to fantasy football, because everything builds up to 3 days out of the week. Since last year, COVID was making games like throughout the whole week, which is kind of fun, but kind of sucked at the same time.
Whether it was a good or bad idea, but I think that it will be it'll be good to hear the crowd again. Hopefully there's no major repercussions. So let's get right into it. So I have 3 teams. AJ did like 10 this year or something like
5.
That. 5.
Did 5 leagues. So I usually do 4. And then my friend Eric decided, let's do another league. And I said, sure, let's do it. And
he asked me to
get into last night. It was all on a whim. It was all last minute.
Yeah, he asked me to get into that one too, and luckily I responded too late, because it would have been crazy to be in another league. Every year I say I'm going to retire, and I do not. But okay, so let's get into it. Who are some of the common players you had on each team?
So
Who was someone you wanted and that you kept picking up?
Well, someone that I wanted and didn't necessarily keep picking up, but I got in a few leagues with Jonathan Taylor. I got him in a couple of leagues, which I was happy about. Antonio Brown in almost all my leagues. He was someone I really talked up. And then somebody else who I really didn't talk about, but I found a fascination with after preseason was Devontae Smith with the Eagles.
Yes. Oh my gosh, I'm in love with him.
Nice opportunity. Yeah, I think I have him in most of my teams. And then another guy who is a deep sleeper, but I think he's worth picking up because I think he will be starting by week 2. Justin Fields in Chicago. He could be nice.
Yeah, I wouldn't even say he's a deep sleeper. He's the secret's out.
Yeah, well, I guess so. I think the reason why I picked him up is because he is that new style of quarterback. And for whatever reason, that new style of quarterback has such a better way of adjusting to the NFL than your traditional drop back passer.
Yeah.
If you look at Kyler Murray, he pretty much right away was carving up defenses. Lamar Jackson.
He had a good rookie season.
Even Hurts to a certain extent last year. I think Fields is somewhere in between in terms of his running ability, somewhere in between a Kyler Murray and a Hurts, but I think he's a better passer than both of them for sure.
I think I like Fields a lot. We've talked about it before on the show. I wanted him to go to Las Vegas. I knew that wasn't going to happen. But no, I'm a big fan of Fields. I wanted him as well, but I also wanted Trey Lance. I ended up with Trey Lance in one of my leagues. I think they both have a similar skill set, and I think Lance has a hell of a cannon.
Yeah, I think Lance is probably the better athlete. The only problem with him, when we talked about this with Lance, is we don't know when he's starting. So it's a bigger risk because we don't know when he's starting.
Yeah, I mean, it's really both of them. Maybe I think Fields might have a quicker path, but, we'll see how the starting quarterbacks perform on those teams. But I do think that both of them will end up playing this year.
Yeah, I think that's a foregone conclusion. They'll definitely both be playing. Just we'll see when they both are playing at the same time. So those are a couple of players, and then somebody else who I did not expect to draft, but ended up drafting quite often, was Darren Waller.
Oh yes.
I did not think I was going to draft him, but hey, man,
you started. You know what happens is that you start to kind of like fall in love with a player, even like a night or 2 days or a few days before.
Yeah. Well, with him, it was more his position. Like he fell to me in 2 leagues.
That too.
Just value alone said, you know what? Let's just take him off.
Yep. No, same with me. He ended up at the right place at the right time, and I had to get him. It does give you a positional advantage, but it's not as expensive as like a Kelsey. I'm not, first round, so that you still get, 2 solid players, and then you get a really good tight end.
Exactly. So, Rob just said Prescott. Yeah, Prescott fell in a couple of my drafts. In my Yahoo league, he dropped very far. I think people are scared about the injury. I don't think they should be as concerned about his ankle as people are. I think if you drafted him for value, you're going to get a steal in a quarterback, because I do think he's still a top 5 fantasy quarterback.
No, 100% agreed. If he goes back to even 90% of what he's always been, you got yourself a stud QB. So good point, Rob, on chiming in on that.
And Mark wants us to take our shirts off, which
he's a Cowboy diehard. What can you say? The players that I was really excited about, and someone I really reached on, I was talking to you about this earlier. I reached heavily in a non-PPR league, was Nick Chubb.
I think you reached on 2 of your picks, but we can get into that right now.
We'll get on that later, yes. But I did have a Chubb for Chubb. It was the number 2 pick in my 10-team fantasy. So, I might be slapped here with a bunch of I might have to pay a penance to some fantasy fans out there, but I wanted Chubb on my team. I just have really, really high hopes for him. And you were talking about earlier how you kind of weirdly stay away from some of these super top guys, like the McCaffreys and the Henrys. I wanted Chubb, man. And at number 2, I knew that he wasn't going to come back to me once I picked. So I went ahead and pulled the trigger on Nick Chubb. And I was only able to get him in one of my leagues, so I'm happy that I did. Someone that was consistently on all of my teams is Marquez Callaway. After watching him in the preseason and really hearing about what he was doing in camp, I feel like he can really vault up into the WR2 status in PPR leagues, especially with Thomas out. And even with Thomas back, I think he'll be able to be a strong option. And Jameis was really locked in on him. So those are two guys that I was excited to get. I also ended up with Waller in my 10-team league because of what I just mentioned as far as the positional advantage. And I really wanted Taylor, and I just wasn't able to get him in any of my leagues. He almost fell to me in our 12-team league that we have with Mark, and Rob, who's online right now watching, took him right before me. So thank you for that, Rob. So no Taylor for me. I think, and that's pretty much who I had. Are there any other players that you had that you were excited to get, or people that you didn't get that you wanted?
Someone that I talked up all through our pre-shows is Herbert, but I ended up drafting him. Even when he was there, I ended up going with somebody who I am still kind of not as confident in Kyler Murray. I had him last year. He kind of tailed off at the end of the season, but for whatever reason, I decided to go with him again, and I don't know, just decided to stick with Murray instead of Herbert.
Yeah. Big turn. It was a big turn for you. I saw Murray all over your team, so seems like you warmed back up to that.
Yeah, it looks like I did. Maybe I was in denial, but that's one guy. And then in terms of reaches, I don't know if there's any players that I necessarily reached on. In most of my drafts, the drafts fell for me. The only player that I think I'm really worried about is Joe Burrow. Just because you don't know what you're getting from him.
Right.
But anyways, that's pretty much it, man. Those are the most consistent players I want to say that I made sure to somewhat find myself getting. My receiving core in most of my leagues is different, 100%. Yeah, I would say Waller, Devontae Smith, Murray. Those are the most consistent ones, and then Jonathan Taylor. But other than that, it's all over the place.
No, that's good. The one other guy I forgot to mention is I did end up with Javonte Williams in 2 leagues. You know how much I love him. I've talked him up a lot after watching his college tape and then his preseason. He's a great athlete. He can be a 3-down back eventually. He's still got Melvin Gordon, who still looks good as well to compete with. But who knows? Maybe they can turn into like a Chubb Hunt 2-headed rushing attack.
Yeah, we'll see. It depends on their line too. I mean, we'll see how good they are this year. But I don't know. Denver's kind of a wild card with a lot of stuff, so it'll be interesting to see what happens.
They are. But I think they'll be all right this year. The importance of the benches, we were talking about this earlier. I think that one thing that happens in fantasy is that as the rounds tend to move on and on and on, you don't build a good bench, or I've seen it happen. And I think that's something you and I both talked about prioritizing. And I think I did a pretty good job of it in all 3 leagues that I'm in.
Well, part of it because you have commissioners like Mark that are pressuring you to hurry up and draft faster than your time limit.
I know. We already have a minute for crying out loud.
A minute isn't enough, especially when you're deciding between a couple of players and what you need more. But yeah, I do think a bench is important because as nice as your starters are going to be, in all likelihood, your starters are not going to stay the same for most of the season because injuries do happen. So if you have a nice bench, there's a lot less scrambling on the waiver wire because you already have what you need on your bench.
Right. Agree with that. And so just to go off some of the players that I feel are like, again, Callaway, I've talked about him to death. Callaway, I feel like is going to be a good one. Some of these incoming rookies like Terrace Marshall Jr. Again, it's obviously all speculative because the season hasn't started, but Michael Carter is someone that can be good. He was in the backfield at North Carolina with Javonte Williams. He has great speed and vision. For some reason, he had a really hot start to the preseason and training camp, but he kind of trailed off a little bit. And now the other running backs are kind of taking over. But I think that midway through the season or later in the season, he can be a nice pickup. Like AJ said, someone like Fields, Trey Lance, you have QB1 potential if they're starters because of their dual threat. Like I said, Javonte. I have, in my 10-man team, I have Brandon Ayuk. And then there's the players. Mark, I just saw pick up in both leagues. He picked up Tony Jones, who's going to be backing up Kamara. That's a really good pickup because he's the only other guy right now.
Yeah, he's the only other guy.
Yes, same thing with Tyson Williams from the Ravens, who's backing up Gus, the Gus bus. And that's another player we didn't even talk about, the Gus bus. I mean, AJ and I think that's someone else that I have in 2 leagues. No, I'm sorry. I only have him in 1 league. That I feel can be really strong. But anyways, as far as the bench goes, it's important to not just be picking up, to pick up players you feel you'll need later in the year.
Yeah, one thing that I noticed with people who don't play fantasy too often or don't pay attention to football outside of their team is when you get into those later rounds, they're just picking names that they recognize. And a lot of those players have already tailed off as opposed to younger talent who's on the way up. So even though that younger talent and a player who are like right here, one of them is going to go here, and it's more than likely going to be the younger player than that older player.
Right.
So like Terrence Marshall versus Cole Beasley, I'm going Terrence Marshall. I'm not going Cole Beasley because there's a good chance Beasley could tail off because he is an older player. And obviously, it's all conjecture. You don't really know, but
right.
Kind of my thinking when it comes to building your bench is going with those younger players who have more potential to kind of break out.
Yep.
Monte Johnson, that happened with me last year. I got him like in the 6th or 7th round, and he ended up being a really good flex receiver too.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think those are all good points, and hopefully you guys all built your bench, and we'll see. So that was a quick little recap of our fantasy draft. Yeah. Now what we want to get into is week 1.
Yeah, week 1 should be fun. I actually want to go over predictions that we have for the season as a whole.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. Let's do the predictions for the season. And these are kind of what we expect from certain players, maybe certain teams. I already gave my Super Bowl prediction. I think the Seahawks are going to be there.
They're not though, but that's cute.
We'll see. I'm going Seahawks. I'm still yet to decide on mine.
You're high on the Seahawks this season.
I am.
So that you drafted DK Metcalf over Tyreek Hill.
I know. I did. Yes, I did do that.
I don't know if I would have done that.
You've heard it here first. I did draft DK over Mr. Tyreek Hill. Okay, so give me your. Do you have some predictions off the top of your head for the 2021 season?
Yeah, I think this is somewhat like of a reach bold prediction, but I'm sticking with it. I had mentioned it earlier when we were talking a couple months ago. I have a feeling that Miles Sanders is going to lead the league, or maybe not the league, but at least the running back room in all-purpose yards this year.
Okay.
Bit of a reach maybe, but I just have a feeling that Miles Sanders is going to do some damage this year.
No, I like it. I mean, that's a bold prediction. I personally don't feel that way. I think I think Sanders tends to be a little goofy-footed and has trouble catching the ball. But he has breakaway speed, and he is a pass catching back, although they don't use him enough, I feel, on that front. And maybe it is because
I think they'll use him more this year because of who's at quarterback.
All right. Well, there's your bold prediction.
Yeah, that's
one or prediction. We won't do bold. All right. My prediction for this year, it was something I was thinking about before, is that we will see James Robinson crack into the top 10 RBs in total yardage.
Okay. That's not too bad.
That's not the most bold
that you'll get. Fair enough. All right. That's a good one. Another prediction that I do have for this upcoming season is I do think, well, it's kind of a double one. I don't think it's out there, but I do think Justin Fields will start by week 2.
Oh, yeah.
And then I do believe that Mr. Lance will start by week 7.
Wow. No, that's a good. I think that I agree in terms of where both teams stand. I think Andy Dalton has a shorter leash.
Yeah, I think just Fields showed too much in the preseason for them not to see if they have a shot with him as a team to make the playoffs. I don't think they're necessarily a playoff team. But I do think that with Fields, they have a better shot at it than with Mr. Dalton.
Okay.
Fortunately for Dalton, but that's kind of where I see that going.
Okay. Another prediction I have is that this goes for 2 teams, one AFC and one NFC. I actually think that these 2 teams are going to do a lot better than what maybe they're being projected for. One of them for me is from your team's division, the Saints. I think that Saints can actually crack a wild card spot this year. I think that their defense is still pretty solid, especially their defensive line. And I think of all people, I can't believe I'm saying this, Jameis Winston is going to actually be a big boon for their receivers, and then throw in Kamara. I think they'll get to a wild card spot. On the AFC side, I actually think, and I'm not going to say playoffs for this team, but I think that they're going to be better than what we think is the Jets.
Yeah, I think they'll be better. I don't know. I don't think the Saints are going to be a playoff team, and I don't think their defense is near as strong as it was last year. They lost a lot of players because they're way over the cap, so I do think they're going to take a big hit. I think they'll be mediocre, but the Saints that we've known to love and hate especially, they're done. It's over. Done.
Well, I know the Saints aren't your favorite team in the world.
That's true, but just seeing their offseason, I don't see them making the playoffs. Jameis Winston is Jameis Winston at this point in his career. Nothing is going to change that.
He is. I agree. But I will give him a wild card crack, and this is why they're predictions.
Oh, Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence is going to suck this year because Urban Meyer is a shitty coach.
Yes, this we both talked about and agreed on.
That's my other prediction. I remembered it. I don't think
Meyer gets fired.
No, I think he's going to pull a Bobby Petrino and leave the team.
Oh my god, he's going to leave the team midway through the.
Hey, Bobby Petrino did it with the Falcons. I would not doubt.
When did he leave during the season?
Yeah, he just walked out on them.
Oh my gosh, that's pretty wild, dude.
Yeah.
Well.
So there's your Trevor Lawrence talk. I don't think Trevor Lawrence is going to do too hot this year, and I think it's because of the coaching staff in place. I think that's more of them as opposed to him.
All right. Well, fair enough. I don't have any other predictions for now. So what we can go right into now is our preview for this week, week 1 of the NFL season.
Yeah, so week 1, do you want to start with the Thursday game, or do you just want to start with, sports the first?
Yeah, let's do this Thursday game, and then what we can do is, what you and I talked about is our week of the weakest to strongest games that we feel are the weakest to strongest games.
All right, cool.
So let's start with your team, the Bucks and the Cowboys. So
what I want to see is a slaughter. It has nothing to do with it being the Cowboys. I just want to see that the Bucks are that team. Being a Bucks fan, we're not used to this kind of confidence in our team. So, for me, it's kind of weird and kind of foreign to, kind of want a team to be really good or have those expectations. However, I do want to see them not just win. I want to see them beat the Cowboys pretty bad. That offense, if it's clicking on all cylinders, can be unstoppable. I do want to say the Bucs will end up winning the game because it is pretty much got all this momentum after the Super Bowl win. Dak Prescott will be somewhat rusty. He hasn't played football in almost a year. He didn't play in the preseason, which I don't know how much stock you want to put into that. And yes, Zeke is leaner, but will that be a benefit or will that be a detour? We will have to wait and see.
Well, we know that what you want to happen.
It's not far-fetched though.
So give me a couple of fantasy players, one from each team that you're looking at to perform.
So I'm actually looking at on the Cowboys end. I do think Gallup could have a big game because he is going to be facing Tampa's third cornerback, who's not bad, but I think he's going to get a little bit more opportunity. So I think Gallup is someone to look at if you have him, maybe flex him, unless you have some other flex options. He's definitely worth it. And then in terms of Tampa, I'm looking at Mike Evans actually to have a big game. Everyone's been talking about Brady and Evans having this really nice rapport during the offseason into training camp. So I want to see what that looks like, and I think we're actually going to see it in the first game. So I look for Evans to have a really big game.
All right. I actually also think the Buccaneers are going to take this one. Sorry, Rob. But I think it's going to be last year we saw the Bucs kind of struggle like for half the season getting going, and now that they've had a full off season with the offense and preseason and getting all of the play calling going, I think they're going to go in pretty hot. Then they're also they brought back all of their starters, every single person from last year's team. So
I think sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I think the one note of caution with Tampa is they are not prepared. They did a lot of that last season where they would just kind of walk in lackadaisical. So even though they won the Super Bowl, yes, even though they'll be hyped up, there is a part of me that thinks that maybe they're going to not look past Dallas per se, but kind of not come in with the same intensity that Dallas is, because Dallas can be like, well, let's show them that we're better than what people think. So that might be the only thing, and that might hit them in the first quarter. But if they kind of withstand that first punch from Dallas, then I think it'll be fine.
Yeah, I think Dallas will come out swinging, and they're not short of weapons. If Dak is good to go, they're gonna have to do a lot of fun stuff out there. I mean, I'm looking at the one guy because he's been so hyped this offseason is CeeDee Lamb. I hope he comes out and performs as good as we think everyone thinks he's going to. He has excellent hands, and I think they're going to look for him in the red zone. I feel a lot this year.
He's the receiver the Raiders should have drafted.
Oh, 100%. I fell in love with him the night before the draft, watching his highlights, and when they didn't take him, I cried. On the Bucs side, the guy I'm actually looking for is someone that you wanted to trade me for. Rojo. I'm looking at him to have a pretty good game, to see him get into the end zone, and
that'd be nice. I'd be happy to see Tampa's running game do really well.
So give me your score prediction for the Cowboys-Bucs.
37-24 Tampa.
All right. High scoring affair. It does have a high score total. I'll go a little bit lower. 31-23.
Interesting. Bucs.
The Bucs.
All right.
So that's game one. The next we are going into the Jaguars and Texans.
That is the game of the week, sir.
The battle for the AFC South.
The battle for non-supremacy. Oh, shit. That game's going to be terrible. It's going to be fun because it's going to be two bad teams that don't know what they're doing. Shoot, man. If I'm going to say to look at anyone on the teams, obviously the most obvious is Robinson, but I'm going to say look for Marvin Jones to have a nice game. No one's really talking about Marvin Jones in that offense. I think Marvin Jones will have a nice game for the Jags. And then for the Texans, I'm going to say David Johnson is going to have somewhat of a revival in this game.
All right.
I'm looking for a David Johnson revival here.
Okay. Yeah, this game's going to be interesting. I mean, it's tough because football's back, and it's like I don't want to say, oh, this game I don't want to really watch. But, the one reason I'm interested in watching this game, besides my fantasy players, which is really just James Robinson, actually.
Nobody has any Texan players.
No.
Teammates.
Yeah. So the one reason I'd be watching this game is to see how Trevor Lawrence does in his first official NFL action, and the Jaguars offense. The one guy I'm looking at is Laviska Shenault from the Jags. I want to see how they utilize him as kind of this all-around weapon. So I'm excited to see that. On the Texans side, it just seems like a, fire sale.
Clusterfuck.
Yeah, clusterfuck, fire sale, bargain, take all our players. It's kind of a complete rebuild. So it's just
they don't know what they're doing. So, yeah, I don't think the Texans know what they're doing, which is funny because I don't think Urban Meyer knows what he's doing as an NFL coach.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. But if there's a player I'm looking at, I'll go with the other running back, Phillip Lindsay. Let's see what they utilize him as. And then as a fantasy player, as a fantasy fan, I guess keep an eye on maybe whoever emerges on each side, because these are two teams who we're not quite sure yet who the WR1 is, for that team. So I wouldn't say put all your eggs in that basket or drop anybody.
I honestly, Chenault's probably and Robinson are the two guys on the Jaguars. At least the Jaguars have guys. I don't know if the Texans really have anyone outside.
Well, that's why. I mean, like the Texans with someone that is in that bad a shape, someone is going to emerge, at least in maybe a PPR format. So, whether it's, I don't know if it's Brandon Cooks or whoever the heck it is, keep an eye on them. And
Tyrod Taylor.
Yeah, Tyrod Taylor. I don't know. We'll see. I mean, who knows? Yeah, Tyrod Taylor could turn into this garbage time legend this year.
Garbage time, top 10 fantasy quarterback.
Yes. So that's that game. I don't know if we have to do the scores for each game since it's.
No, we don't have to. But I do think that the Jaguars win that game.
There you go. I'll go Texans for the upset.
There's no upset. Both of them should lose by default.
All right. Urban Meyer's going to get a confidence boost after this one.
Fuck out of here.
Rob's got 35
scholarships to other players.
We got Rob 35-17 Cowboys.
That's insulting, Rob.
Yeah.
Insulting.
The more, hopefully the more viewership we get, we can be interactive with our viewers.
Niners and Lions. What are you looking for in that game?
Niners and Lions. I am going. Okay, so what I'm looking at in this game is Brandon Ayuk on the 49ers side. I'll dive right into that, not just because I own him, but he's an exciting player, and he can light it up on running and receiving. As far as the game itself, I think the Lions are also – they're not as bad as the Jaguars and Texans, but they're pretty much up there in the high 20s, early 30s as far as their rank. I got the Niners winning this game. On the Lions side, I am looking at TJ Hawkinson because this is another player who's been hyped up a lot this offseason. I want to see if at least in the first game he proves all the hype right.
Okay. So what I'm looking at is two things just in general. I want to see how the Niners are going to utilize Lance in this game. Like, are they going to use him in the game at all? And I think they are. And then I also want to see who's going to emerge as the lead receiver in Detroit.
Yeah, same thing. You're right. That's the same thing as like the Texans and the Jaguars. Who is going to be that guy that people are going to go maybe for on the waiver wire? Who is it right now that they have in terms of maybe someone that was drafted?
Is it Cephas?
And he might have not even been drafted in most leagues.
No, no one in the Lions receiving core was drafted. It's Hawkinson and Swift. Those are the two guys, and then Jamal Williams.
And Jamal.
I want to see if Swift can stay durable. This is more of a season theme, but I want to see how he looks out there on Sunday. And I really do want to see how the Niners utilize Trey Lance, because if they use him like a Taysom Hill kind of player going forward, that will be interesting to see if they end up giving him like a running back designation too for fantasy. I don't think that'll happen, but you never know with fantasy.
Tight end.
No, I wouldn't say tight end.
I hope they don't do that. Actually, I don't want them to actually get him. I don't know if that would be best for
Wildcat, man. I think they'll Wildcat him. I think they'll revive the Wildcat here with him, because Shanahan is a running back type of philosophy. Like running is his core philosophy. So I do see that they might utilize Lance to some degree with that. We'll see. I mean, I don't know to what extent, but I think it's interesting to see if that'll happen.
Fair enough.
I want to see Trey Sermon get some carries too.
Yeah, I want to see what Trey Sermon likes. I think he's one of my least favorite backs of this rookie class, just based on his tape. But maybe he'll blow up. Mostert's still really good too. They like to utilize a lot of running backs in that offense.
Well, it'll be interesting to see what they do. I do have the Niners winning as well. I think they'll have somewhat a revival of 2019. I don't think they're as good as people think they are, though. I didn't think they were as good as the team that went to the Super Bowl in 2019 when they went. I think they're somewhere in the middle between 2019 and whatever they'll be this year. I think they're a playoff team, but I'm not as high on them as other people are.
All right, fair enough. All right, how about our next game? Let's talk about the Jets versus the Panthers.
I think this will be a fun game.
Same. I'm looking forward to this one. This is the Darnold revenge game.
Except he's not going to get the revenge. I think the Jets are going to win an upset.
Ooh, spicy.
Zach Wilson's going to surprise, just like Herbert came out last year and surprised everybody with the way he played for the Chargers. I think we're going to see something similar with Zach Wilson, the least talked about quarterback really compared to the other ones, but I think he might be the most put together one.
I like Zach Wilson a lot. If you guys watched the Jets-Packers game, he was lighting it up, and he has a really strong arm, and I think he's a more mature quarterback than people maybe think he is. So I agree with you. I think he's going to do really good. I think that the Panthers are actually going to take the game. I will say that because he is a rookie, I think this is a good opportunity for the Panthers to take advantage on defense.
They should, but their defense isn't exactly that defense.
No,
they're not a bad defense, but they're also not a strong defense. So I do think it leaves the door open for the Jets to steal this game. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Carolina wins, obviously, but it'll be fun. It'll be interesting. The biggest guy that I'm looking out of, I guess, on the Jets is Elijah Moore. He's been getting a lot of hype from fantasy experts. I actually want to see what he actually can do or does. And then on the Panthers side, let's see how CMC looks. Let's see if he's full, ready to go pre-injury, or if he's going to have some kind of lingering effect.
Yeah, the executives around the NFL just came out with a list of who they think is going to win the MVP and comeback player of the year, rookie of the year, etc. McCaffrey was the offensive player of the year for them.
Interesting.
The comeback player of the year. Although on other lists, what's that?
I think those. I don't know. That's just like me with a small gripe. I think that whole comeback player of the year award should go to like someone who's really coming back. I think Dak Prescott probably is more deserving of that than probably McCaffrey. But
that's what Dak Prescott was on a lot of the on one of the other ones that I saw. There was another one that wasn't the executives. So I'm looking for, on the Jets side, I'd like to see if at all another rookie, if they get Michael Carter involved at all, and if he shows a little bit of burst, and if he can maybe gain a little bit of
momentum.
Leverage, momentum as an option for them. On the Panthers side, I'm looking at another rookie, Terrace Marshall Jr., who was an electrifying receiver at LSU and has been really good in the preseason and during camp. So I'd like to see what he can do. I'll admit I'm going with some of the players I have stock in some of my leagues, and he's one of them. I have a question here from Mark. So how you guys feel when someone drafting Aaron Rodgers, Aaron Jones, and Devontae Adams? I think he might be drunk right now from taking so many shots. But
Aaron Rodgers, get him out of my face.
I like Aaron Rodgers. I own him, so I've warmed up to
Devontae Adams with an apostrophe, get him out of my face.
I know. What the hell?
If he doesn't have the apostrophe, I'm all down for it.
Someone take the bottle away from Mark, please. Those are all good players. That's what I think.
I wouldn't take them all on the same team, though. I think that's what he's getting at. I'm not drafting all three of them on the same team. That's insane.
No, yeah. Although we talked about this is interesting. Like you could technically, I would never do that. But you can technically have, because if you think about it, we went over this before. But since say you have Tyreek Hill, then you have Mahomes, and you also have Kelsey on a team, and then Clyde Edwards-Helaire. You're hoping they're all going to be good on other teams any given week. So it is an interesting thought.
Yeah, but the problem with that is you're leaving less probability to actually have them boom, because when you draft, they're gonna cancel each other out. Because if I have Aaron Jones on my team and you have Devontae on your team, I still have another running back or two to supplement that. But if I have all of them, you're kind of short-handing yourself. It's just, I guess it's math, kind of.
Yeah, it's weird. It's weird. I'm with you. I mean, it's just, and it's not really fun, to be honest.
It's kind of boring.
Yeah, it's boring.
You have to be like a super homer, like just all about your Packers or whatever. Anyways.
What you see. But anyways, that's, to answer what you're bringing up there, Mark. The Vikings and the Bengals.
I think this is another game that could be pretty fun. And I have the Bengals winning this game. I don't think the Vikings, no offense, Mark, I don't think the Vikings are going to be very good this year. I think they're going to be kind of doo-doo.
I think the Vikings are going to drop a little bit this year.
I mean, they didn't really do too hot last year either, but they had a slow start last year. I think that was a big thing for him, is they had a slow start. I think just this year they're not going to have a good year, and I think their coach, what's his name? Shit.
The Vikings?
Yeah.
Is it Shurmur? Pat Shurmur?
Yeah, I think this is his last year. I think he's done, though.
That's an interesting take. That's one. Yeah. Chalk that up as another prediction.
Sure, why not? Let's do it. I want to see Jefferson. I want to see how much volume he gets.
I'm interested to see that as well. I mean, he's pegged as someone who, obviously he's a stud last year. So, and now that Irv Smith Jr. has gone down, you might see Jefferson's targets go up. But I also feel like Thielen gets kind of forgotten.
Lost in the shuffle?
Yeah, he gets lost in the shuffle.
He does the work, but he's not an exciting player to watch, so he does get lost in it.
He's a blue-collar player, and he works hard, gets the job done, and he gets missed. And, he's not the talk of the town.
Yeah. But yeah, I want to see the volume, like how many targets we're seeing for Jefferson and all that good stuff. On the Bengals end, I just want to see Joe Burrow, how well he does.
Agreed.
Obviously, fantasy purposes, but I want to see him succeed because the Bengals could be a fun team going forward.
I'm with you on that.
Mike Zimmer. Yeah, that's.
Mike Zimmer, not Pat Shurmur. Where's Pat Shurmur at? Sorry,
I don't know, but
Pat
Shurmur. Fired by week. I don't know what week, but he's done though. Get him out of here.
That's funny.
We don't have a statistician. Sorry, we don't have the money for a statistician.
Yeah, we hope you're not.
And he is
not fired. We hope you're not fired wherever you are. We have I'm with you. I'm going to stick with the same player on the side. I'll go with another player, but I do want to see Joe Burrow. I think that the Vikings will win because Joe Burrow is going to need at least 1 or 2 games to get the confidence back, because he's talked about the mental.
That's fair. And the Vikings do have Mr. Cook.
Right. So give Burrow a little bit. He has to mentally overcome that injury, which was a devastating knee injury.
Agreed. For him. So, no, I agree with that.
I'm looking at T. Higgins. I didn't get any T. Higgins stock, and I really think that he's going to be the receiver on that team.
Well, if Jamar Chase keeps dropping the ball, then yeah, probably.
All right. Yeah. Hopefully Jamar Chase is good. He's supposed to be a super stud, so maybe he'll
He'll
turn
be
it
good.
around.
He'll be fine. He just has the jitters. He'll be
He
fine.
got the jittery jitters. Give me the Vikings over the Bengals, and that's another morning game. Let's go ahead. Let's stick to the.
Let's look at the Broncos Giants.
Where are they at?
That could be a doo-doo game.
Broncos Giants.
It's a 2:00 game.
All right. Oh, here we go. Broncos Giants. This is football. It's back, so I'm finding pretty much every game exciting. On the Broncos side, I look at the Broncos. I picked up the Broncos defense in 2 leagues. I think that they're going to have a stronger defense. I was talking to you about this earlier. They have Kyle Fuller, who they picked up in the offseason. They have Patrick Surtain II, who looks like a stud already. He took one to the house in the preseason. Give me the Broncos defense over your favorite Daniel Jones, Danny Dimes. And I'm looking at their defense. That's who I'm looking at on the Broncos side. And, of course, I'm a huge Javonte Williams fan, so I want to see what Javonte Williams is doing.
Yeah, you're obsessed with that guy. I want to see Daniel Jones has all these weapons around him. What's he going to do with them? I think Danny Dimes is Danny shit. I don't like him as a quarterback. I think he's overhyped, and I think he's done.
That's rude. This is a family show. And
Get him out of here. Get him out of my face. I'm done with him. I
hope he does good. I've always been a fan of his. I like.
I don't know why he's not even a good quarterback.
No, he's not. I'm not saying he's a good quarterback. I want him to do really well.
Why? Because he's got a basic ass name. Like
I know he does. He doesn't. He does not fit. He doesn't fit the football player, name thing.
He's just a guy. Just like his name, he's just a guy.
Everyone's eyes are on Saquon Barkley.
Yeah, I think he will be somewhat limited in this game. So if you do have him in your fantasy lineup, you might want to flex him for this game.
Right.
Because there's a good chance that he doesn't put up the numbers that you want him to for the first week or two. But hey, that's part of the risk you take in drafting him is you have to kind of know that that's a possibility.
For sure, you've been huge on Saquon.
Yeah, I love Saquon. I think he's worth the risk. Definitely.
No, I love him, and the league needs him. So hopefully he tears shit up. No pun intended. Let's go into. So on that game, I do have the Broncos winning.
I agree with you. I think the Broncos do take that game. Can't trust Daniel Jones.
All right,
get him out of the league. Eagles Falcons.
The Eagles Falcons.
Battle of the Birds.
The Battle of the Birds. Where are they playing at? Let's see here.
They are playing in Atlanta.
Yeah, they just renamed their stadium. Is it
that? No, they're playing in Kanye's house.
Oh, that's right. No, the Saints renamed their stadium, I believe. But, okay, so we're talking about the Eagles-Falcons. What do you got in this game? This is interesting.
Kyle Pitts. I'm excited to see if the hype is real.
Same.
Actually, Pitts and Ridley. Those are the two guys that have been high. And I love Ridley, too, so I want to see if he can be that number one. But Pitts, it'll be interesting to see how they utilize him. And we're going to see if there's any more regression for Matt Ryan, too, because he already was regressing last year. So we'll see.
I think Matt Ryan can have a good year this year, actually.
Yeah.
I think he could have a good year.
I think he'll pad his stats, but I don't equate that to a good year.
All right. Ridley is someone that I was taking him in a few mocks, but I wasn't expecting to get him in 2 leagues. I ended up with him in 2 leagues. He kind of fell to me, and I went with it. So
it's because I think there's a lot of people that don't trust him because everyone's so used to Julio Jones that they're like, who's this Ridley kid? Or so much so that they don't see that he can carry the weight. I think he can.
That's where I was. I was a little bit of a part of that group. I thought maybe,
you saw that one catch in training camp. Huh?
Yeah, I saw that.
He's nice, dude. He's a nice player. He's been nice for the last
nice.
years.
He's really,
I like Ridley. Pitts, dude, I'm excited to see what Pitts will do, but I want to see how they're going to utilize him. I think they're going to use him on a lot of misdeception or misdirection routes.
Right.
A lot of play action. I think he's going to be the receiver they go to in play action more than Ridley. So that'll be fun. And I think because of how high they are on Pitts, that's why you're seeing someone like Gage not get drafted or get drafted really low because Pitts is that number 2.
Yeah, he's on a lot of waiver wires. Keep an eye on Gage because he's still the number 2 out there. I know you like.
I'm not big on Gage. Yeah,
Zach.
I'm bigger on him. I think he has more big play potential. Gage is just a guy.
Well, and we'll see. And there's still Mike Davis in the backfield, and we're kind of getting into all the players now. But I'm interested to see if Mike Davis can
carry the load.
If not wear down. I didn't take him in any drafts. I don't know
if he's not wearing down, man. He's got some huge ass legs. But
I showed that. Yeah, I saw that.
That line, I don't know if they're going to go legs. On the Eagles side, you already know who I'm looking at.
Oh my gosh, your love story here, Mr. Devontae.
Yep, I want to see how he does. I want to see how many. Same thing as Jefferson. I want to see the number of targets that he gets.
He's a nice route runner.
He's just a nice player. I think he's really nice. And then to Mark's point, I do agree that Matt Ryan does love his tight ends. I totally agree with that assessment.
Oh, nice. He does.
I think Tony Gonzalez was still there when Ryan was starting out, wasn't he?
Tony Gonzalez was there, and Matt Ryan was there.
Yeah. I don't think was Algie Crumpler still there? No, huh?
Damn, Crumpler. That's a throwback in the
Yeah, right. Crumplemans.
On the Eagles side, I am looking. I want to see what happens, what shakes out with Dallas Goedert and Zach Ertz. Ertz has been kind of coming back in and mending the relationship a little bit.
Vikings. Mark it up, Mark. You're gonna be getting Zach Ertz in about 3 weeks.
That'll open up the Goddard because he kind of cooled down in terms of the draft love.
He's getting drafted really low, or not at all in some leagues.
Yep, agreed. That's going to be a good one. Give me the Falcons in this game at home.
Give me the Eagles in an upset. Well, mild upset.
Yeah, mild. That's kind of an even. That's a weirdly interesting even game. I like that. I'm looking forward to that game. All right, what do you got next on the games list?
Here's a game that I think is somewhat overhyped. Dolphins Patriots.
Oh yeah, this one's gonna be fun. We're talking about the battle between two Alabama.
It's gonna be fun. I think it's gonna be so boring.
Alabama alumni, Tua versus Mac Jones.
You're so high on Mac Jones. I'm not. I'm not a Mac Jones fan.
I'm not super high on him, but I think that he is going to be pretty solid, and I think the Patriots are going to be they're going to be a pretty good team. You think he's just a game manager? I think both those quarterbacks are close to game managers.
Yeah, I agree with that. They're both game manager-ish. Honestly, there's a lot of people that are super on the Patriots this year to be a decent team. I still think they're going to suck like they did last year. Not really bad. I do think the Dolphins are a better team, but who I'm looking at, honestly, I'm looking at Damian Harris because he's been getting drafted fairly high, and I actually want to see, how he's going to be as a fantasy option for people. And then if I'm looking at the Dolphins, I'm looking at Jalen Waddle, how he's going to get utilized.
Love that. That's someone I really wanted to get in drafts, and I just didn't end up with him for whatever reason. I like Jalen Waddle a lot. I'm looking at on the Dolphin side. You know who I'm looking at that was I think I skipped over him, but I think he could be good is Mike Gesicki.
Yeah, he was super hype last year, remember? And he didn't.
Yeah, he didn't really perform. I think this year maybe he can do better.
Part of it was Fitzpatrick's fault.
Yeah. I think he'll be a good tight end if you didn't get one of like the top 5, 6, 7 studs. Yeah. On the Patriots side, I'd like to see if Jacoby Myers can build on the consistent targets and then get into the end zone now. Last year with Cam, it was Cam's favorite target, and I think that he can keep that going with Mac Jones and hopefully get into the end zone. I know he was drafted in a lot of leagues. He's a PPR machine, and we'll see if Mac Jones keeps that going, if Mac Jones spreads it around more. I'm interested in this game a lot. I want to see what Mac Jones can do now that he's on the live stage.
I think it's going to be a defensive battle, and I think the Dolphins win because I think their defense is going to harass them.
That's a good point. Patriots a lot of their defenders are coming back. Their defensive players are coming back that held out last year, right?
Yes.
So
that's a whole year without football.
Yeah.
So it's going to take a while for them to get their legs, I think. I do think the Dolphins win this game.
Give me the Patriots.
Low-scoring game.
Give me the Patriots. Bill Belichick coming back to glory, baby.
I don't know about all that, but we'll see.
All right. Well. All right. Next game.
Rams Bears.
All right. What do you got on the next game?
Rams Bears Sunday night.
Ooh, the Sunday night Rams Bears. What are we looking at here?
I think the Rams are going to slaughter the Bears. I'm sorry, but if Dalton is the quarterback, he is going to get destroyed by Aaron Donald.
This is a tough game to throw Dalton into for his first game. It's not the best looking team for him to face when he's trying to stay as a QB1 for a little while.
And then with his main target being Allen Robinson, probably being shadowed by Ramsey. Even if it's not Ramsey's, I mean, who else do they have at receiver? Like Mooney, but not really.
Look, Mark says super boring for Sunday night. Boring.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. Yeah. I don't know why the Bears keep getting primetime games. Like,
AJ and I have always talked about how boring the Bears are as a team. I think Fields will change that a little bit.
Hopefully, for the sake of Chicago fans. Jesus.
Yeah. You go into Los Angeles. This is the new SoFi Stadium. I'm actually super excited to see this Sunday night game, first game in SoFi. So I'm pumped for the Rams side. I also agree that the Rams should handle business against the lowly Bears.
And the Rams have a lot of expectations this year, so are they going to live up to it right away? I think they'll be somewhat like Tampa was last year, where they start off a little slow, maybe not as slow, but a little slow. But I do think the Rams win this game, and I think the player to really look at on this one is Matthew Stafford for me, obviously.
Matthew Stafford, I think – for me, looking at who Matthew Stafford hones in on with quite a few.
That's a good point. I like that point. For me, I'm hoping it's Robert Woods.
Yeah, there's Woods, there's Kupp. They got rid of Gerald Everett, and now it's only Higbee.
Yeah, let's see Van Jefferson. Like, he got a lot of hype.
Van Jefferson.
Let's see if he actually gets a role in this offense this year.
They have a lot of players. And then, of course, the running backs, they ran into running back injuries early before the season. So
you think he gets involved right away, or you think it's going to be a couple of weeks away?
Yeah, I think he's had enough time to get involved.
Let's see how he looks, because if he does well, you already know people are going to pick him up if they haven't already. Like, I think Mark drafted him, or someone drafted him, but it's possible.
Yeah, no, I think he went drafted in most leagues late. Give me the Rams in this game. On the Bears side, I am looking to see
if Fields gets in the game by halftime.
Yeah, there's not much I'm looking for. I mean, that's just how I'm looking at Cole Kmet. You were bringing him up a lot before.
Yeah, let's see if Cole Kmet can start living up to that draft status.
Yeah, so give me the Rams in this game on Sunday night.
Yeah, Rams.
Yeah. How about let's get into some of the better games now. The Cardinals Titans in the morning.
That one is gonna be fun. That'll be a fun game, I think. Murray. Yeah, let's see if Murray got out of that slump that he had at the end of last year, because I feel like a lot of people figured him out. I think, he was hurt, but I also think they figured him out to a certain extent. Or maybe because he was hurt, he was running a lot less. We'll kind of see how that goes. So I'm interested to see Murray. But this is kind of a bonus one. This is just for you. I want to see AJ Green get some touchdowns. Just for you.
Damn it, man. Okay. Yeah. Let's see if he looks good. I mean, in all honesty, AJ Green with them is an interesting weapon to have.
Rondale Moore.
I want to see Rondale Moore do some exciting stuff. What did you say? I lost you there.
Oh, they have a whole shred of offensive receivers.
They do. Who's the tight end?
Fitzgerald isn't coming back.
No, Fitzgerald's not coming back. It's kind of sad. It's been a quiet offseason. He hasn't made his decision. Yeah, Christian Kirk. Mark just pointed out. So it's Kirk, Green, Hop.
Don't forget about Bella and Rondale Moore.
Yeah,
I'm telling you, they have a lot of receivers, and they
have tons of players. So no lack of weapons there, and they boosted up their defense a little bit with J.J. Watt. The Cardinals to me were a Super Bowl contender-ish. Yeah, I know. I pulled back a little bit on that.
They're a fringe playoff team.
Yeah, I pulled back a little bit on that. I think the Seahawks are actually the best team in that division.
Ooh.
So
I say the Rams are the best team in that division because they have a defense. The Seahawks defense does not exist.
Interesting.
But
who are you looking for on the Titans side?
That's a good question. I guess I'm looking at the obvious, right? I'm probably looking at Julio Jones.
They mainly have the obvious on that team, actually. So it's
Julio Jones is the big guy I'm looking at on that team more than anything. Actually, no. Let me put it this way. It's kind of a cheat. I'm looking at how they utilize that new offense that they have. Are they going to stick to their offensive identity, which is the run game, so that we see less target shares for Jones and AJ Brown? So that's going to be interesting, because if they're not going to sling the ball around, then that Julio Jones trade is kind of a wash. But.
Yeah, and he's a tough player. He's always been someone I've avoided in drafts.
Because he always gets injured, man. He always gets those hammy injuries.
He gets injured. We'll see. It'll help out the run game if he's fully go. And AJ Brown's dealing with some knee stuff right now, so we'll see if they can stay healthy. And if they do, one player I want to see actually is Anthony Fursker, the tight end.
He did all right last year.
Now that Delaney Walker's out, and Jonnu Smith. Delaney's been out for like 2 years. Jonnu Smith is gone, so I want to see if Fursker can step it up. He might be a nice little pickup, a little streaming option, maybe more. I have the Titans winning this game at home.
The Titans as well.
All right. Let's go back up to the earlier games. We have two games that are very interesting here. How about the Chargers and the Washington football team?
This is fun because this is two teams with expectations, I think, going into this year.
They have big expectations.
I do think the Chargers are a fringe playoff team. I think they're trending up. And then Washington, they may be the best team in the East, but it all hinges on Fitzpatrick, honestly.
It all hinges on Fitzpatrick, and I'm a little.
On their part. That's on that was a stupid choice on their part. I think they should have went another direction there, but hey, whatever.
I agree. I don't think he's gonna be. I just don't think.
Fitzpatrick, he has like 1 or 2 really good games, followed by 5 to 6 really shit games, and then he gets benched, and then something happens to the starter, and then he comes back in, and he lights it up for a half, and then he sucks again.
Yeah, that's weird. I mean, he's a bridge quarterback, obviously.
Yeah, totally.
But I don't know. I hope he does well because I have Terry McLaurin
and Gibson.
Yeah.
So I think the biggest thing to look at is how those two players do with or without Fitzpatrick for the season. But particularly in this game, I want to see how Gibson is utilized.
Right. Well, what we were seeing in the preseason and last year is that they don't use him on third downs. He plays a lot, but they
use J.D. McKissick a lot.
Right.
But I think Gibson's going to be used more so. And the problem, maybe they didn't use him because he's a smaller guy who get ran over during blitzes. He's not a very good blocker, but Fitzpatrick is pretty mobile. So we'll see. I mean, we don't really know, but I'm looking at how they utilize Gibson. And then on the Chargers end, I'm looking at Mr. Eckler and his usage because he's been talking this whole offseason how they're going to utilize him in all these different facets. But that's what I want to see is how he gets utilized. And his hamstring. Is it something that's going to linger?
Yeah, hamstring is something he was dealing with last year, so
yeah,
that's what kept him out of quite a few games. So hopefully he's all right and they'll be able to massage it for him and he'll get into the game. I am looking at the Washington defense, who's one of the best defenses in the league.
Probably the best defense, I think.
Probably the best defense in the league. And on the Chargers side, I want to see what they do with Keenan Allen. He's getting older as a player, but he still runs really nice routes, and
he's a nice PPR receiver for sure.
For sure.
He's not a very good standard receiver, but he's a very good PPR receiver.
Yeah, agreed. I will go on this game with this is a close one. I'm going to go with Washington by a close margin.
I'm going to go with the Chargers. Close margin, right. But I got the Chargers winning this game. They have a better quarterback. I just think that's going to be the difference in everything.
And they should have a good defense as well with Derwin James back.
And Bosa.
So
yeah, Derwin James is a nice player if he can stay healthy.
How about the Seahawks and the Colts in the Dome?
Yeah, the Carson Wentz, man. It's all about Carson Wentz.
This is I really want to see what happens in this game with Carson Wentz as well.
Because the Colts are only going to be as good as their quarterback. They have a nice defense and they have a really nice running back, but at the end of the day, they still need that quarterback. Even in a shitty division in which they're in, they still have to compete with the Titans. So it'll be interesting to see how Carson Wentz plays in a new place with some nicer fans than those Philly fans for sure. But Jonathan Taylor, he's been drafted so high. It's time to see that if he's worth that draft position.
For sure. Yeah.
That's soon enough. Like, even if he doesn't put up the numbers, it's going to be about volume and if he's getting the ball at the goal line. If he's getting the ball at the goal line and he's seeing the volume, then the production will come. So that's what I'm interested to see, how they utilize him. I'm pretty sure they'll utilize him a lot, but I actually want to see it in motion. It's one of those things where I want to see it in motion.
No, for sure. I agree. I think on the Colts side, I'm looking at Michael Pittman to see if he can step up his game his sophomore season now with a better quarterback, at least a quarterback who has more arm strength. If Carson Wentz can gain his confidence back, then we can maybe see a big season from Michael Pittman. He's a big sleeper this year.
That's nice. I like that one. On the Seahawks end, who are you looking at? Don't say DK Metcalf. You got to say someone else.
Okay, I won't say DK Metcalf because we all know I love him this year. I will say that I'm looking at Chris Carson because I've been a fan of his ever since he came in, but he runs with a lot of physicality and, he gets banged up quite a bit. So
and he fumbles the ball all the fucking time.
Yeah.
So
that's another issue, the fumbling issue. So I want to see if he can continue to be still a good running back, and if they use it, they do like to throw it to him as well. So let's see if they involve him that way. In this game, I am going with. Wow, man, this is another good game. This is one of my favorite games of the week. I'm going with the Seahawks and a squeaker.
I think the Seahawks are gonna. Actually, no, I don't know. It depends. It depends on Jonathan Taylor. I think for me, it depends on how well Taylor is running against the Seahawks. So with the idea that Taylor runs all over them, I have the Colts winning this game.
All right.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
All right, let's look at the Bills and the
Yes, sir. The Bills and the Steelers. I am looking. This is another great game. We're getting into the top games here, and oh man, this one looks fun. I think that the Steelers are going to be better this year than people think. I do think they're going to be better than AJ thinks. So I see a good battle going on here with two good defenses. I'm excited to see Naji, another player that has been – there's a lot of hyped rookies this year. Naji Harris, one of them, the all-around running back, drafted as a PPR machine. Let's see what they can do. On the Bills side, I talked to AJ about this earlier. I want to see how they utilize the running backs, if they ever utilize them in the game. We talked about this.
That's the thing, man. That's so frustrating. Like, that's part of the reason they didn't go as far as they wanted to last year, because they don't have a consistent running attack. And it showed. It caught up to them in the playoffs. I want to see that. I want to see that too, and I want to see who the main guy is. Is it Moss or is it Singletary? That'll be interesting to see. For me, I think what I really want to look at is Deontay Johnson the main guy in Pittsburgh? I think he is, but I want to see if it.
Yes, talk about someone I ended up with a lot in mocks, and I didn't end up with him at all in my final drafts. So, but I like him a lot. He's a good receiver. His hands were an issue last year, but I think if he's better at that and his efficiency, so he can go through the roof. We have Marco Ramirez from El Paso, Texas here saying Juju ? Juju had a pretty nice he turned into a little PPR machine toward the end, like the latter half of last year.
He's a nice flex.
PPR flex. Again, they have Claypool, as well, and they have who's their tight end?
Progression on Claypool, actually.
Yeah, he had a lot of touchdowns. You're right, and he had touchdowns on low percentage of like targets.
Yeah, I think he's not gonna surprise anyone this year.
Agreed.
So I think he's gonna hit a wall. So I think if you were choosing between Claypool or Juju, I think Juju was the safer bet. So if you have Juju on your team, I think you're gonna get more out of him than you will Claypool.
I'm not sure if I agree with that, but it's an interesting point taken.
We'll see. We'll see. I'm willing to bet 5 cents on that.
All right. Give me the Bills. Give me the Bills in a pretty close matchup. In a mid-range scoring matchup, like a 27-24 game, field goal game.
Nah, give me the Bills by 2 touchdowns.
I like it.
Give me the Bills.
All right. How about the Brownies and the Chiefs at Arrowhead?
This is going to be a fun game for sure.
Yeah, this is one of the funnest games another one of the funnest games of the week. I'll start. Oh man, there's a lot to go into here. I am looking at the Browns. You know who I'm looking at. I won't even talk about Chubb man here, but I'm looking at Donovan Peoples-Jones in this game.
Interesting.
He has been hyped. There's rumblings about him as in like looking like a true wide receiver 1 actually, and they brought it up as much. They've said as much on some shows that I've been listening to. So Peoples-Jones is who I'm looking at, see what he does on this offense with a lot of weapons.
Is OBJ going to be back for this game?
OBJ should be back. He was limited today in practice, and I think he's ready to go for the game opener. Another person I never draft, but I actually hope he does good this year.
Yeah, there's less expectation on him this year, so if you draft him, it might be still. I guess the player I'm looking at on the Browns end is Mr. Baker Mayfield and how he utilizes all these weapons, or if he's going to force feed OBJ like he did last year before he got hurt.
Yeah.
So I think that'll be interesting to see how that goes. Because if Mayfield can take that next step, then the Browns are going to be a scary team to watch this year. I don't buy into the Super Bowl hype for the Browns. I do think the Bills are still a better team than them. I know I'm kind of getting off track, but
no, it's all right.
The Browns are like a team that people are really high on going to the Super Bowl. If I had to choose between them or the Bills, I would say the Bills are probably the team that I'm picking. Anyways, and then on the Kansas City side, I'm looking at Elaire. How is Elaire going to be utilized this year? Is he going to be utilized, or is it going to be more of the same of the Hill-Kelsey show?
Yeah, I avoided Elaire in all leagues. I didn't want to venture to find out on my team if he was going to be that, just take a step up. I think he will, and I hope he will. He's super talented, but
I agree. And then an extension to that is the Chiefs' offensive line. Yes, it's supposed to be better, but they also are all new.
Yeah, that's a good point you've been making. That's true. We don't know how they're going to do finally in live game action, so might take them a little while to get used to it. Someone I'm looking at is I talked about him earlier is Mecole Hardman. They want to push him into this, second receiver position. I just don't, whether it's the confidence in him or his own inefficiencies, it just doesn't seem to get there. So we'll see if he can finally do it once the games count. I think that Pringle or Robinson could end up being like the 2 after Hill and Kelsey, the 3.
Yeah, but even then there's still he or whoever it will be is still the 4th option on that team. So how much how much love do they really get when it's always going to be Hill, Kelsey, Elaire, Mahomes?
Yeah, that's fair.
So it may not even matter in terms of fantasy purposes.
That's fair. I have the Browns in an upset in this game.
Interesting. And if Myles Garrett can take advantage of that new line, then I can definitely see that happening. But I'm going to pick the Chiefs. I'm going to pick the Chiefs in a close one.
Okay, at least it's a close one for you. All right, and finally, I think we are on our – no, we have 2 more games to go here. The Packers and the Saints in Florida. This one's going to be played in Jacksonville.
Yes, it will be in Jacksonville because of Hurricane Ida.
Yep.
I know who you're looking at in the Saints more than likely.
Who am I looking at?
Probably Callaway, if I had to be honest.
Yep.
Who I'm looking at is the quarterback for the Saints. But it's not Jameis. I'm looking at Taysom Hill and how they utilize him because, and I said this last year, and it actually happened when Drew Brees got injured and Hill took over. I said that Kamara would eat into Kamara, which it did. I want to see if that's the case again this year, how they utilize Hill, and if it's going to eat into some of Kamara's points.
You think it'll – okay.
Well, I don't know. I don't know because I don't know how they're going to utilize him, or they're utilizing the same way before. So I'm interested to see how that's going to play out.
All right, interesting. I don't know if they'll do a lot of this Hill package stuff, but he is a weapon, and I think you want to use him. He kind of plays every position. He's a Swiss Army knife, so
it'll be interesting.
It'll be interesting. On the Saints side, I'm looking at Juwan Johnson. He is a very sleeper pick as a tight end. They lost Troutman, and who's the starter?
Trotman is the starter, but they're saying Juwan looked better than Trotman.
Juwan Johnson looks good, so keep an eye on him if you don't have a tight end, or if you're streaming tight ends. He's someone to keep an eye on as a possible replacement, someone you can plug in. That's who I'm looking at to see if they actually do use him on that team. On the Packers side, they're going to be missing a couple of key linemen in Bakhtiari and their center. Their center left, I believe, in free agency.
I think so.
Who are you looking at on the Packers side, maybe besides the obvious names? Or is there an obvious name you really want to see?
I'm actually interested to see what Randall Cobb does.
Oh, man.
Only because I want, and this is nothing against Randall Cobb, but I want it to be like the worst decision the Packers made in taking him because Aaron Rodgers has been annoying all offseason. It's been annoying the shit out of me.
I know it was tough for me to draft him in my 10-man league, but as you could see, I had no choice.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting. I do want to see how Cobb looks. He may get the targets per se, but I don't think Cobb is anywhere the way Aaron Rodgers thinks he's going to be for them. So.
Fair enough. On the Packers side, I'm looking to see if and when they utilize – what's that?
A.J. Dillon, in all honesty, A.J. Dillon is someone I'm looking at for goal line carries.
Okay. Yeah, he was picked up a lot in fantasy this year. I'm looking at Amari Rodgers, the rookie receiver for the Packers. Let's see. I want to see if they utilize him at all in this game, and start to warm him up to get a bigger role, see what he can do.
All right.
On this game, Packers-Saints, give me the Packers.
Yeah, I think the Packers win by at least 2 touchdowns.
All right. There you go. And now we have our Monday night football game. It's not a Monday night doubleheader like it usually is.
How convenient this is the game we end with.
This is it. The Ravens and the Raiders.
Yeah. All right.
Before we leave the Packers game, Mark asks, how do you feel about Tonyan? I'm all right on Robert Tonyan.
Kind of cooled down after that little hot streak of 2 to 3 weeks. He kind of cooled down after that. So
He's a hot and cold for me.
Yeah.
He's not going to be a stud.
He's not. He's just a guy. He's a flyer.
Yeah. So Ravens Raiders. Here we go. In Las Vegas. What do you got?
Not my fault. He's boring. He's just a boring guy. He's not anything special.
Who?
Tunyon.
Okay. Well, Mark's response.
You got Tunyon or what? Is he on your?
I know. What do you want me to say, Mark? His favorite food is spaghetti.
Robert Tunyon attended school at. Fuck out of here. Fuck out of here.
The Ravens and the Raiders. Let's get into this.
Yeah, I don't know why this game was saved for last. Why the fuck?
How did it sneak by, huh?
Yeah.
Let's do this. Well, let's see what the Raiders look like. So many question marks on the Las Vegas side and the Ravens side now. They're going in limping a little bit with receivers and running backs hurt. So Raiders with a little bit of an advantage there. I'm looking to see if their defense can step it up.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing, we've always talked about this, the Raiders' defensive line is their Achilles heel. And until those draft picks produce, it's going to be the same result, I think, always.
Yeah, they've been having some trouble. Oh, Mark said he was talking about the Raiders and Ravens boring game. I don't know about boring.
It'll be interesting, maybe. It all hinges, and this is not just this game, but it's the season. It's going to hinge on two things for the Raiders. Their edge rushers and their wideouts.
Yeah, they had both
big question marks.
Question marks that they haven't necessarily addressed or at least addressed properly in drafts. We hope that Ruggs can have a better year. We hope Edwards steps up. I think Edwards will be a good red zone target. If not, it's going to be another busy Waller season. And it's already going to be a busy Waller season with an unproven core of receivers. So.
Yeah. And the Raiders redid their offensive line too.
They did. They also redid their offensive line. I want to see what Carr can do this year. I keep saying it's his last year to prove it. And this year again, hopefully, but he's an efficient quarterback. He's not like a stud and he's not going to be that guy that's legendary, but he's efficient.
Yeah.
And he still has a good arm. I think that this could be a good game. I think that on the Raiders side, if there's one
Vegas, right? Is it in Vegas?
Yeah, it's in Vegas. This is going to be their first game in Allegiant Stadium, so this is going to be fun. On the Ravens side, I think someone you and I might both be looking at is the Gus Bus. Someone we're invested in.
Yeah, I guess you can say we're both looking at him for sure. Something else that I'm looking at as a whole for the Ravens. I feel like they're gonna be similar to what we saw in the last game they played against the Bills where they got demolished. And I agree with Mark. Everyone has figured out Lamar. That's why he doesn't succeed in the playoffs because they know how to play him. So I think the Ravens, everyone's still somewhat high on them. I think we're gonna actually see them fall down to earth a bit. I don't think their defense is nearly as good as people think. Their receiving core is non-existent. Outside of Gus Edwards, they don't really have a lot of weapons out.
Yeah, Mark Andrews, Gus Edwards, none of those receivers have really panned out. Like Hollywood's all right? But
yeah, and then Bateman is injured. I don't know who else.
Sammy Watkins for crying out loud. When you have, oh my gosh.
Yeah, so I'm gonna agree with you on this one. I think the Raiders are gonna win in an upset, and we're gonna see the beginning of the end of that Raven playoff run. I think they're going to fall off a lot this year.
Yeah, I'll take the Raiders in a win because the Ravens are going in limping. And yeah, you're right. It's like, what are the Ravens going to do? What exactly are they going to do?
Yeah, I think they're going to fall off a bit this year. I think they're falling off.
All right. Well, I think we ran through all the games. Those are the games, folks, for this first week of football. Let's go ahead. What we're going to dive into now is each have our fantasy team of the week. And what we'll do is pick our teams. And what do we do? PPR, right?
Yeah, PPR. Most people play PPR.
We pick our PPR team of the week. And next week on the recap episode, on the weekly recap episode, we'll tally up and see who won. So, AJ, why don't you give me your fantasy team of the week? Who's your quarterback?
My quarterback for this week is going to be Josh Allen. I look for him in the game against Pittsburgh. I like his chances against that Pittsburgh team. I think Pittsburgh got exposed as a team last year after the Bengals whooped that ass. I don't think the Steelers' defense is as good as people thought they were last year. Yes, they had injuries, but even then. Anyways, so I think Josh Allen is going to have a really nice game.
All right. How about your RB1?
I'm going to have to go CMC. I know it's the obvious choice, but they are playing the Jets.
Okay.
So CMC.
How about your RB2?
What's going on over there? My RB2? I think that's a little tougher.
We're obviously going on the spot here. We'll have our teams maybe pre-packaged next week. But let's see who you go off the dome, though.
You know what? I'm going to go out on a limb for this one, and I'm going to say, and you'll have to hear me out, my RB2 is going to be Swift.
Okay.
And part of the reason is I think that they are going to play from behind a lot against San Francisco. So there's going to be a lot of opportunity for screen passes or dump offs from pressure, and Swift's going to be the guy that's going to get those.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Now your first receiver.
My receiver 1, Mike Evans. I'm going to stick to him having a big game. I do think he'll have a nice game. So I'm going to go with Mr. Michael Evans in the spotlights tomorrow night. I do like that opportunity for him.
All right. WR2.
I'm going to say Mr. Jerry Jeudy. I like Jerry Jeudy against the New York Giants defense.
I like that, yeah. Mark, did you see Mark's thing?
I got going in 3 of my leagues. Talk about banking on one guy, huh?
Mark was obviously listening to Eckler's own hype off season.
Yes, that Kamara hype.
All right, who's your tight end, though?
We could go with the obvious, right? I mean, how could you not go with someone like a Kelsey?
All right, well, you want Kelsey?
Nah, I said, hold on. I'm going to go with Kittle. I like Kittle against that Lions defense.
Okay. You know, one thing we should implement that would be interesting is that once you pick a team, you can't pick those players anymore throughout the whole season.
I don't know about the whole season. That would be kind of tough.
No, maybe not, because then you probably will run out, right?
Maybe like a 2-week period or something like that.
All right. Fair enough. So George Kittle as your tight end. Now, who is your flex?
So are we talking like realistic flexes or just kind of flexibility?
You could go with, whoever you want, because I'll try to stick to like a realistic flex, or, go with who you want.
All right. So for this game, because we don't really know what we're expecting from him, I'm going to go with OBJ as a flex.
Interesting.
Yeah. I'm going to go with him as my flex.
All right. How about what about your defense?
I mean, I'm going to kind of stick with the theme here. You know what? I'm going to go with a defense you're actually high on. I'm going to go with the Broncos defense against that Giants.
Great pick, yes.
Because Daniel Jones will throw picks, and he fumbles a lot.
I am high on the Broncos. I have the Broncos defense in 2 leagues.
So I have him. And then to answer Mark's question, I'm going to say O.J. Howard. I've been high on O.J. Howard. But he's so explosive. And he's back from that Achilles injury. I do think Tom Brady will look to get him involved. And I don't think anyone's going to game plan for him. So I'm going to say O.J. Howard.
That's one of his favorites. All right, now your kicker.
Sorry. Give me, is it Myers in Seattle?
Yes.
Yeah, give me Myers.
All right, AJ's fantasy team for week 1, all set. All right. My quarterback. Give me Baker Mayfield.
Interesting. Interesting. What's your reasoning there? Chiefs defense is trash?
Shootout potential, to be honest.
Fair enough.
Running back, my RB1. Let's go with Mr. Derrick Henry. King Henry to all the peasants out there.
Okay.
RB2. I've been kind of poo-pooing him a little bit, maybe not giving him a lot of love. So why don't I give him a little love and put him on my team? Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
I knew you were going to say that.
Let's see.
It's a great game for him to have.
It is. As my WR1, let's go AJ Brown.
Interesting. Okay.
My second wide receiver. You know what? Let's go with Mr. Marquez Callaway.
You were going to pick that guy.
I had to.
Tight end.
And as far as tight end goes, let's go with Mr. Logan Thomas from the Reds.
Thomas, I like that one.
The football team.
Against the Chargers, okay.
Against the Chargerinos. Now, on my flex. Ooh, this one should be fun. My flex. Give me Damian Harris.
Okay. That's reasonable. I like that. That's a pretty good flex.
On the defensive side, take a quick little gander here. Let's go with the Patriots.
Interesting.
And for my kicker, let's actually go with the Dolphins kicker in that same game, Mr. Sanders.
All right.
So we have our fantasy teams for week 1. We'll give you the results on our recap episode. And that's it for the first episode of the new season. Welcome back, everybody. And by everybody, I mean Mark and Rob.
Hey, maybe we'll get more followers as we continue.
We'll get more followers as we continue. It was fun. And that's about it, man. I'll see you on the other side, AJ. I'll shoot you some text tomorrow. Well, hopefully I get into I'll be traveling this week, so more than likely we might have to do our recap episode. I'll keep you posted, but I'll be out of town. It might not be on Wednesday. Well, it might be on Wednesday, actually.
Cool. Let me know. Tomorrow's a big day. Let's go Bucks. Let's get that win.
Yeah, everybody enjoy. Mark and Rob, thanks for watching and thanks for the input. The chat board on the side was pretty fun. That's it. All right, man. I'll talk to you later.
All right, brother.
Enjoy the games, everybody.